Hello, I'm Mrs. Jansen. Let's draw a creative cake together. Here you see two student examples. Our first vocabulary word is observation, the act of looking at something or someone carefully in order to gain information. Observing is thinking while seeing. Artists observe carefully. Repetition is repeated art elements such as lines, shapes, and colors in a work of art. Our artwork is inspired by American artist Wayne Thiebaud. He was born in 1920. He's 100 years old. He's a painter, a retired college professor, and he lives in Sacramento, California. Some of his most famous paintings are desserts. He paints pies, cakes, and ice cream cones. He often used bright colors. Here's a photograph of this artist sitting in his studio. You can definitely see that this artist paints more than desserts. Here we see a city with skyscrapers, and this artist has also created art that shows gumball machines and even shoes, as well as landscapes. Here's some of his artwork. I'd like you to see how this artist uses repetition. On the top left, notice how this artist uses pieces of cake or pie, but changes them in different directions on the plate. Notice how each slice or piece looks different. On the top right, you'll notice how this artist has used lines and shapes to create designs on the cakes. These look like they're in a display case, maybe at a bakery. On the bottom left, you see ice cream cones. You'll notice that they are not exactly alike. This artist used shading or value the lights and darks of color to create the illusion of 3D for these ice cream scoops. Now on the bottom right, you'll see that this artist uses repetition again, as well as shading to create that illusion of 3D. So our art today is influenced by a fine artist, but baking and decorating cakes is also an art. It's the culinary arts. So when it comes to art, we all make art differently. And on the top left, this is an idea starter or just an example of how you can draw a layer cake. The pink cake on the right shows that this culinary artist decided to create a cake that has a slanted or diagonal top. And then with the other photographs, you'll see a lot of different ideas created by culinary artists. So today you'll use your imagination, a piece of paper, a pencil, and crayons. And as we draw, know that this is just one idea starter, but you can add your own ideas or change the cake that you draw at any time. You'll see the screen change so that we can draw together. So please place your paper portrait style. And the first thing we're going to do is draw an oval that's on its side, and you'll notice that this oval is narrow. And a narrow oval is called an ellipse. It's really an oval that is viewed in perspective. So it's how we see it. Now let's add two straight vertical lines on each side of this ellipse. And let's connect these two straight lines with a curved line. And that curved line helps give the illusion that the cake is 3D. So this is a sketch at any time. You can use your eraser, or remember, if you want to change something you've already drawn, don't erase the whole thing. Just add another line next to it and then decide which line you'd like to keep. So to add the second layer, we're going to start in the center of the side. So to make sure that you have it in the same place, you can follow along the front of the cake with your finger and make a mark for yourself on the other side. So now we're going to draw a second ellipse. So you'll notice that I drew more than one line. We're sketching. And when artists draw more than one line, it's called searching. We're drawing what's called searching lines. We're searching for the line that we want to keep. All right, and now that we've got the second ellipse drawn at the beginning, add a straight vertical line. And now at the bottom, add that curved line to connect those two. So it's up to you how many layers you'd like on your cake. And for today, I'm going to add just 2 layers. I'm going to go back to my drawing and refine or change a couple of lines. So if you found it really challenging to draw with your paper this way, sometimes artists like to turn it this way. So as you're looking at your drawing and making adjustments, you can consider turning it sideways to check the ellipses and the curved lines that you drew. And now we're going to add the cake platter or stand, and it's going to start above the bottom. And if you'd like it to be on the same place at the other side, make sure that you move your finger across the cake and make a mark for yourself. So I'm just going to add to that mark, make a straight horizontal line. And now I'm going to add to it with another ellipse that's going to be the top of the cake platter. And I had just drawn this horizontal line as a guideline. So now we can erase it. And we need to show the thickness of the cake platter. So here we're just seeing the top of it. So we need to add a straight vertical line and then a curved line. And now it's time to add the bottom of the cake stand. So roughly in the center, you can add the bottom of that cake stand any way that you would like. I'm going to use curved lines that might remind you of parentheses. All right, so now we've got our cake drawn. And remember, go back and check the lines you've drawn or sketched and decide if you want to change them by adding a line and then erasing what you don't want. So let's just talk about adding candles. If you're interested in adding a candle, you would add, if it's this type of candle, 2 vertical lines. You would add a small ellipse on the top. You would erase the line that goes through it for the cake. And then remember, this candle is sitting in frosting. So you can add a curved line at the bottom. You can add any designs you'd like to the candle. And then if you'd like it to look like it's lit, you can add the flame. So let's talk about different art elements like lines or shapes that you could add to decorate your cake. You could start out with scallop lines. For that decorative edge of frosting. And notice how you can add those to the top and the bottom of the cake. And notice how this cake is starting to look interesting with the different lines and shapes you add. So this gives you an idea of different things to add to your cake. In the example, we saw sprinkles added. So you can add small rectangles in different ways to represent sprinkles. You can think about your cake. If you'd like it to be on a table, consider drawing a horizontal line on each side of that cake platter. And remember, we saw how the student artists added different lines and shapes. And I know you've got your own great ideas, but this just shows you an example of a different pattern you could create with lines and shapes. You can think about the background by creating a pattern, or maybe you want to show a party in the background You might think about showing curved lines to represent confetti or different shapes like diamonds. So, this is your cake, and you can design it any way you'd like. And I hope you've enjoyed learning how to draw a layer cake and using lines and shapes to create decorations. I look forward to making art with you again soon.